Hello, Gutsy Gals. Welcome to another day and another video. So this is the fourth video in my little series of how I got here to the ranch. And this is the wrap up of that story and how it went and the whole works. Have you ever yourselves made a big change just to run into a wall that you didn't see coming? Well, today's video is the wrap up of my story, and in this story, I too hit a great big wall that made me second guess everything because I didn't see this whole tragedy happening. But if you stay tuned to the end, I've got 3 of my takeaways that I learned from this situation that I am going to talk to you about. And real quick, I think we'll walk over here real quick and I can show you my little tiny herd here. And since they're standing here waiting for us, Bandit, there he goes. And my mini donkey here, there she is, little Annie Oakley. Hi guys. All right, so let's get into it. So when we wrapped up from the last video, I had gotten moved here to northwest Nebraska from the city of Colorado, from Denver. And the move went pretty well. It was a lot of work to get me, my animals, and everything moved here, but we got it all done. So the first spring storm was coming and I had to get everything set up so that Nash, my horse, was well taken care of and good to go. Well, 3 weeks into being here, literally just 3 weeks, my poor horse Nash passed away. It was traumatic, to say the least. I knew nobody, as I've mentioned before. I didn't know anybody here when I moved here. And I didn't have anybody help me. And Nash was running around, falling over. We fell over into my fencing, put a great big dent into that fencing. He got back up, but he was just struggling all over in the back from the house. And so in my complete panic, not knowing what to do, I knew that there was at least some neighbors across the way. And I went over to them real quick and drove over there and just started knocking on doors. I needed help fast. And so sure enough, I knock on the first house and nobody answers. I was just totally bummed. Drove further back onto their property, come across another house. And luckily, somebody answered the door. And I just was crying and said, I need help. Something's happening to my horse. And he said, no problem, I'm on my way. So I head out to back to my truck and I stop and I turn around. I said, do you even know where I live? Because I said I hadn't met anybody. So he said, now that I see your truck, I know where you live. I'll be there in a minute. So off he comes. I come back here and now my horse is just laying on the ground. And lucky for me that he had called the vet, who I didn't know, but the vet lived just down the dirt road from me, which was so great. And he came running. Literally everybody, they just all came to help me, and they didn't know my situation, nothing. Like I said, I had only gotten here and I hadn't met everybody. So after about 3 hours of us trying to figure out what was going wrong with my horse, it became pretty clear that he was struggling and he was having problems and he was passing away. So after 3 hours, Ash had laid there a long time. We couldn't figure out what was going on with him, but the way he was acting, we were thinking he was having a stroke for sure, or some kind of aneurysm. He couldn't get his feet under him. It was difficult for him to put his head where it needed to be. It was a struggle. And so we had to make the decision to put him down. And here he is laying just outside my back window on the pad, basically the pad that I have on the back side of the house there. And I'm a city girl, so I had to ask them some silly questions, but one of them was, well, what do I do with him? When you live in the city, there's rules around what you do with your horses when they pass away. And out in the country, I didn't really know. And they both looked at me and said, well, you bury them out back. So I said, well, how do I do that? And it was so great because the person that came and helped me, which happened to be my neighbor's adult son who lives and works on the cattle ranch. And he said, I'll come back in the morning and I'll help you bury him. He was going to get a big tractor with the bucket on the front so that he could dig up a hole for me and help bury Nash. So I covered Nash up and they left, went in the house, and in just complete shock. I had turned my whole world around because of this horse. I moved from the city to the country to ride that horse, spend all kinds of time with that horse. And I only got 3 weeks with him here before that was it. He passed away. It was so shocking. And that night, which the reason I'm sharing this is because we us Gen Xers and boomers, we're getting to that place in our life where we want to do something that makes us happy. And at the end of the day, we don't expect it to go wrong in any way. And so this is a story about what do you do when it all falls apart, when unforeseen things happen and it kind of bites into your whole dream that you might have. So that night, the whole night, I was up because I was worried. I didn't want anything coming and eating on my horse. And I was out in the country and it's so dark here at night. There is no light pollution, as they call it. It is dark here, almost scary dark when you're not used to it. And so I kept checking on him, which was awful. And I remember sitting on my couch thinking to myself, what have I done? What in the world have I done? Was I going through a midlife crisis? I am living out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know anybody. I wanted to be here and ride that horse and just have those brilliant moments every day with that horse. And now I don't have the horse and I've just moved to the middle of nowhere. And what have I done? I really started thinking, wow, was I having a midlife crisis? Have I messed up? Have I done the wrong thing? What am I going to do with myself? It was a difficult night, to say the least. I struggled and really thought through everything that had brought me to that moment. And I decided I'm just going to have to think about this a little longer and figure out what I'm going to do. And the next morning, my neighbor showed up with the backhoe and we dug a hole here. I'm standing out here under the tree that we buried Nash. And he dug the hole and then we had to put the horse in it. And that's just not an easy process. For anybody that owns horses, that we know that's not easy. For those of you that don't, it's an ordeal to get a 1,000-pound animal into a hole to bury him. So we got all that done, and again, everybody left. And I'm alone again, really wondering about what I've done and why I did it and the whole works. And I started thinking, my life is so much better. I've gotten to experience the love of a horse and the love of doing something for myself, by myself, and making it work and making those decisions and just owning it. So I decided, you know what, Terry, you can always get another horse or two or a mini donkey too, and that this is just part of life. I would have had a struggle no matter where I lived, whether I had that horse or not. And so I wasn't going to let it ruin my story of why I came here and what I was here to do. So it wasn't very long after, probably about 3 months, it took me a little bit, I ended up getting another horse, and then I got another horse, and then I got a mini donkey. Since then, I've sold one horse. I still have Bandit, which you just saw a little bit ago. And I still have that cutie patootie little mini donkey, Annie Oakley. And life is still really great. And I can only thank Nash for that and all the lessons that he taught me. So I wanted to share the lessons that I've learned from that experience, the traumatic, the tragedy of it all. I can't tell you how many of my friends and family just couldn't believe after everything, they'd been following my story, that happened. So what I would say is, if you're taking a big leap or you're making a big change, you're a Gen X single woman and you're gonna jump out there and do something that you've never done, change up your life, just restyle your life. Or a boomer woman who's doing the same thing. There's 3 lessons I learned from the tragedy of losing my horse, which was my whole core, my whole being, my whole reason for moving from the city to the sticks. And that is, it's okay to take the moment that you need in order to grieve. Crappy things are going to happen. Here's my donkey. And when they happen, we got to bounce back and remember, this is only just a phase, just like everything else in life. And as we get older, we're going to run into more of those kinds of things where things happen that we least expect to our friends, to our family, and to ourselves. And the second thing I would add out of the 3 is, don't let the unexpected take you completely down. Get him in here. Don't let it take you down the path of losing the confidence that made you take your big leap anyway. You got here and you will get your feet back up underneath you. Just give yourself a moment, a little bit of grace. You can mourn it if it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, but it's time to get your feet back underneath you and do it for the reasons you initially did it to begin with. And find the gratitude in the journey. The journey for me, if you've followed my story up till now, was exciting, always new things happening. I was accomplishing so many things. And I found a partnership with my horse that changed my entire life, from being an empty nest, depressed, single woman, to now having a horse and an exciting life and taking rides and then changing my entire life and moving from the city to the sticks. And because of that gratitude, it honestly taught me so much about myself. I grew so much while being on this journey with my horse, Nash. And his passing was really traumatic for me. It took me a long time to mourn his loss, but I have moved on. I've got other animals, and they have brought me lots and lots of joy as well. And because of everything I learned with Nash, I'm having a successful life here on the ranch. So those are my 3 takeaways from having a tragic event. If you've ever experienced something like that, please let me know in the comments. I tell you, it's not that misery loves company. We just like to know there's other people who've gone through it and gotten out of it too. We just like to know we're doing okay, we're gonna make it, and it's all just part of the process and part of the journey. And I think if you share yours, it'll help other women in our group and others taking their own journeys. So thanks for joining today, hearing about my story. I can't wait to start sharing other things that happen out here at the ranch every day that I got to take care of myself. And I'm going to bring you along that journey and all that wisdom that living out in the country gives you. It's amazing. Have a great, wonderful day. And if you would like and subscribe, it really is helping me with the channel. One of the things I'm going to talk about is, how do you make a living? How do you stay afloat out here on the ranch? Since I've moved here, I have lost my job 3 times. We'll be talking a little bit about that in an upcoming video. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a wonderful day.